Welcome back. I hope everybody had a wonderful break. I'm excited to see everybody again. And we're back in 2020, which seems kind of crazy to me. It probably doesn't to most of my students. But 2020 just sort of sounds like the future to me. That's probably because I grew up in the 80s and 90s loving science fiction movies, and 2020 just sounds kind of crazy. I mean, Terminator 2, which was one of my favorite movies when I was younger, Judgment Day, takes place in 1997. The future is 1997 in that movie, and that's before all of my current students were born. Back to the Future 2, where they're cruising around on hoverboards, that takes place in 2015. We're 5 years past hoverboards. Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, takes place in 2019. Last year, we've gotten past Blade Runner. So that just seemed kind of crazy to me. And I know probably a lot of my students don't even know what I'm talking about right now, don't understand the references, which is not uncommon. But it was kind of interesting for me as I was reflecting upon sort of the last year and really the last decade. I've reached the point in life where I can reflect over a decade's worth of time. And this last 10 years has been maybe the most eventful 10 years of my life. It's when both of my kids were born, so some very amazing things, chance to move back to St. Ansgar where I graduated from and teach there, have a job that I love, also challenging things, faced health issues, got divorced, those sorts of things. So it was a really eventful decade from 2010 to now 2020. And of course, as a new year, always kind of thinking about some of those New Year's resolution types of things. And I mentioned that before heading into break with our last family time, just to have all of you thinking about that, about maybe some goals and things. And we're actually going to take a little different approach to it because we've talked about in class that those New Year's resolution types of goals typically don't work. And statistics vary depending on where you're looking, but the vast majority of people don't really fulfill their New Year's resolutions. And a lot of times, there's a lot of reasons for that. Often the goal is too broad, it's not specific enough. If it's for a lot of people my age or older, it's to get in shape. Well, that's a very vague goal. Or people try to bite off more than they can chew. They think things are maybe going to change in one giant grand gesture, that they can bust out an 80s movie montage and change their life, and that's really not the way things work. So what we're going to try and do over the next couple weeks, over the next couple family times, is address some of those things. And whether you want to call them resolutions or goals or whatever, it's to try to implement a few practices and just again give you a few more tools in your tool belt that you can use to not only achieve a specific goal you have right now, but to give you some things that you can actually use for the next decade of your life. Because I was thinking about that as well. The students that I have right now, or some who recently graduated or in college now, the next 10 years of all of your lives might be filled with a lot of the things that I've had in the last 10 years of mine, with career, family, all those sorts of things. So I want to try and offer up some things that are going to maybe be a little more helpful than just I'm setting a goal or I'm setting a resolution. And I think that's what the goal always is I'd like you to have success now and find these things helpful, but more than that, I want them to be things that you can use throughout your life. So what I actually want you doing this week is not so much writing down goals for a New Year's resolution, is I want you to start thinking of some guiding principles. And what I mean by that is I want you to start establishing some things that is stuff that you really care about. Things that are your motivators. Because the things that we continually think about, the things that we continually focus on, that's what comes into our life. Positive or negative, what we're continually ruminating on really comes into our life. And we all find time for the things that are really most important to us. Most often, if people aren't accomplishing a goal, a lot of times they're saying one of the reasons is I don't have enough time. Well, everybody has the same amount of time, and that's the thing about time. Once it's gone forever, and we can't gain any more. We can't add any minutes to the day. So what we have to do is consider what's really most important to us and use the time we have to focus on those things. And that's a great place to start, maybe even before setting a goal, is establishing these are the things that I really care about. Then we can start to build goals and practices around them. So that's what I want you to do this week, is I want you to just come up with a list, and I'm not going to give you a set number, but at least give me a few things that are sort of guiding principles or concepts for you. And I typically do this. I think I showed the week before break, I kind of did a list of 19 for 19. No real reason to pick 19, other than I just sort of like the symmetry of 19 for 2019. So this year I did 20 for 20. I wrote down 20 things. Now, it's usually not good if you're writing goals to write that many things, but these aren't specific goals. These are 20 little short ideas. Some of them are just one word that remind me of something that I can look at every day. And that's what I try to do, is look at them every day. Have them next to my bed so I can look at them first thing in the morning, look at them again before I go to bed at night, and they're just reminders of how I want to live and who I want to be. And from there, I break it down into smaller chunks of time, and more specific goals. But this is sort of the umbrella. So that's what I want you to do this week, is just come up with a list of a few things, and I want you to explain them to me. What does that mean? So I have my list right here, my 20 for 20, and I have a lot of different things on there. I typically always start a list like this with what I consider my core values. So number 1 is courage, integrity, respect, love, and empathy. Those are my 5 core values. So I'm always trying to remember those. I'm always trying to lead my life by those things. It's not a specific goal. It's not a resolution. It's me declaring, this is what I value, this is who I want to be, this is who I try to be, and from there I can build off of that. Then I have other things. I have some that are fairly simple, like read, write, think. I want to do that every day. I want to read something, I want to write something, and I want to spend some time thinking. And I don't necessarily always do every one every day, but I try to make a point to, and that becomes more the specific goals down the road. But I'm putting down on paper here that those things are important. I think it's important for me to read and learn and grow that way. It's important for me to write just as a creative person, to work through my own thoughts, and to just spend some time in thought. Some of those overlap a little bit. If I'm reading and writing, I'm spending some time thinking, but also just for me to set aside time to think. That's something I don't do as well sometimes, is I'm trying to always keep myself busy, or I feel like I'm not being productive enough if I'm not actually creating something or working on something, but just to spend some time in thought. So I have some things like that. I also have some simple that are one or two words. I have fly is one of them that I put on this year. And I looked at my list from last year and looked at the things that I sort of set as my main guiding principles for last year. And a lot of the things are the same or very similar. And then some of them I added in new things that are things that I've been thinking more about after going through last year and reflecting on last year. So one that I added this year is fly. And this is a reminder to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense to other people. And I don't necessarily mean fly in an airplane or something like that. To me, this is something that I've been thinking about that actually came from something my 7-year-old daughter said, talking about when you jump, you fly. And she was just talking about jumping up and down. But it made me think about, like, yeah, that's really the way that we can fly. That's really the way we accomplish anything in life, is we have to take that jump. We have to continually keep jumping and kind of having a leap of faith and pushing ourselves. So I put that on there, fly. To me, that's like, it represents flying is living. To live is to fly, to do things that we want to do, and it's taking that continual leap of faith. So that is sort of a broad idea, but to me, one word summarizes it. I can look at that first thing in the morning and read fly, and then that reminds myself that this year, that every day when I look at this, I want to keep doing things to push myself to take that jump and to try and fly in my life, to have a life that I love and enjoy and feel is purposeful. And that's just a reminder. And that's really what I want you to do this week as well. I have, a couple other things in here that are real simple. I put fun, number 17 on my list this year is fun. And I have a lot of fun. I do a lot of things I enjoy. I'm lucky to have a lot of people in my life who I love being around. But sometimes I have to remind myself when I'm working on projects or doing creative things that I need to leave a little time for fun too, because I just know myself, I can get sort of obsessive about things, working on things, and I have to remind myself it's okay to take a break and just have a little fun. That's not necessarily chasing a specific goal either, other than just enjoyment. So I put that on there, and then I always, on a list like this, I put my kids' names too. I put Mickey and Claire. It's always the last thing I put on any goals. Even when I break them down, I write their names on it, because I always want them to be in the forefront of my mind, just guiding the way that I'm living and trying to set a good example for them and being a good father. So really that's it. That's our starting point. We're going to do a few more things kind of going off of that the next couple weeks. But I want you to write down some guiding principles, a few ideas that can be broad and vague like that. But if it's really vague, give me an explanation of what it means. Like if I had fly written down, what does that mean to you? That's all you have to do. I just want you starting to go through that process instead of going, well, here's a specific goal that I'm going to attain. I want you to establish, here's some things that I care about. This is the way that I want to be, the way that I want to live. And really the date doesn't have a lot to do with that. We're going to be working on this after January 1st. And that's fine. I actually wrote my list on January 3rd because over New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I was traveling with my kids. It was wonderful. And I wasn't sitting down and writing a new list. The day doesn't really matter. But spend some time thinking about the things that you care about, and that's going to be our foundation for the other things we're going to do. So I'm excited to be back in school and to see everybody and get back to work. I hope you're excited too. Much love.